Hey there, today I'm going to go over SQL Map. First I'm going to give a little description about what SQL Map is. And I'll go over some capabilities, distribution where you can get it, and I'll give a little demonstration. And demonstration may occur throughout. So what is SQL Map? It's a tool that automates detecting and exploiting SQL injection flaws. So why is this important? It was listed as one of the top 10 most common vulnerabilities in the Open Web Application Security Project in 2013. And I've actually seen this vulnerability listed in the top 10 for the last decade at least, probably longer than that. So as an information assurance professional, you need to know about this one. This is a pretty dangerous vulnerability. So how does one perform an SQL injection? So you've got this site here, and maybe you're looking at some products or something like that, and those products have an ID. You're probably first going to go to mysite.com and then select some link, and then it's going to issue the last part here with the ID from the link. But on the back end, or the remote host, a query such as this here will get executed. It'll fill in the ID for the request, and so then the HTTP GET will return your requested page. So if one wanted to test a website for SQL injection flaw, this might be a simple SQL statement that you would just add to the end of that product ID. The plus and plus 1 is equal to 1. We're just saying we want the product ID that equals 1, and where 1 is equal to 1, which evolves to true. So if you got back the same page that you would for your product ID, you know that you may be sitting in front of an SQL injection flaw. So then we do something like this, and we change 1 is equal to 2, which we know is false. And if this returns false, then you know there's an SQL injection flaw. And that's taking place because this last part here, this SQL statement, is not being sanitized for user input, and then it's being evaluated by the database management system. So SQL Map, it has full support for some of your major databases, you can see here, and it supports 6 different SQL injection techniques. So some of the capabilities that SQL Map offers are enumeration features of password hashes, privileges, databases, tables and columns, and then of course cracking. You can crack those passwords using a dictionary-based attack. Some fingerprint features, or dumping of database tables, searching specific database names, tables across all databases and columns. And then of course there's some takeover features where you can download and upload files to certain databases, not all. You can also execute arbitrary commands and retrieve their output. So where can you get SQL Map? It's a project under github.com, or you can also get it with the Kali Linux distribution. So for a little demonstration, just to explain the environment here, I've got a couple of VMs. One I've got running Windows 7, and I've installed EasyPHP web server along with a vulnerable database setup that I got from SQLinjection.net. And you can see here I've got my database running, and I got an HTTP server going. So I can open up the web page here, And as I said, it's provided by SQLinjection.net. Got some simulations here, and this has a list of products to view by category. We can look at those. This would be a simple web page, but let's close this here, and we'll go to my other VM. So I've got another VM running Kali Linux. I'll bring up a browser here, and let's just pretend I'm sitting on the other side of the world and I want to go to this website, even though this is my local network. So there's the website that's being hosted on my Windows 7 machine. I go to my simulations and look at a list of products here. These products are stored in the database. And you can see here's that URL with that request for a product ID, just like I shown in the presentation. And it returned these products here that are part of this category. Something neat they've done here as part of this environment, they show you whether or not there's an SQL error and the query that's executed. So here we can see the query, select name, description, price from products where category is equal to 1. So I could do something like, change the product ID and I get something different back. Now I'm looking at computer cases. And your product IDs, they may have alpha characters in them. You may see that from time to time. That's okay, and it does give you an error, but it shows you the query that's executed. And the web page that you would see would probably tell you there's no data for this category or something like that. They couldn't find that category or whatnot. But then let's do, like I showed in the presentation, and do an actual SQL command. So what we're doing is actually extending the SQL, or injecting our own SQL. Is equal to 1. So there you see it returned just the same thing that we would have gotten if we just entered category is equal to 2. Although it says it is an unknown category. Now if we look at our SQL error, it says there was no error generated by MySQL. And if you look at the query that was executed, it actually executed where category is equal to 2 and 1 is equal to 1. So then let's change that to something that we know should return false. And it says there's no data for this category, but there's no error. And there's the query. And sure enough, it shows us that the database executed that category is equal to 2 and 1 is equal to 2. So you can see how you could pretty much retrieve anything from a remote database just from the URL command line here, just by entering in your own SQL statements. So that's where SQL Map comes in handy. I'll go ahead and bring up a terminal here. And we'll enter in SQL Map. If you do a -help, you get all these options. It shows you all the different things you can do. One thing you do have to have, a target, and we'll be using the -u option. You can see here it gives an example similar to what we've seen. And then some enumeration techniques or options. Some enumeration options. This one here is what we're going to do first. So let's enter in our command. SQL Map, and then just come over here. Let's take this out. Let's just grab that. Copy. We're going to come over here, and we're going to say dash, dash U for our target is a URL, and we paste that right in there just like that, and then we say DBS, and it goes through and it does some stuff, and you can see there was an error found in the HTTP response body. You can see here these database names that it fetched. So these are the different databases that it sees on that remote host. So let's just take a look at a couple of these, or one of them for now. Let's do so now I'm going to scroll back up and look at, so let's use this option here, database, -D for database, and we're going to look at the SQL Injection, and then from that database we want to look at the tables. So we're going to see, does it stuff again, and right here's the tables that it returned. These are pretty interesting tables. Members, you got orders, oh, payments. That looks good right there. So let's first look at the members. So we're going to change this to, let's say -T for table, and let's see, we're going to look at members. And from that table we want to look at the columns, so we do -- columns. Does it stuff again? That's getting interesting. Password. You got their email, their first name, permissions, username. Let's look at some of that. So here we're going to do a -C, and I believe here we can just list all the different columns we want to see in order. So let's just do email, and it's comma separated, no space, and it is case sensitive. MID, last name, Let's do username and then permission. And then let's do I think it's a dump. Yeah, dump database table entries. Look at that. So we got username and passwords here. It doesn't look like they're encrypting them very well at all. So let's now go back and look at these payments. Let's look at that table. Do our columns again. Look at that. Oh, we got credit card numbers. So now you can see how hackers are getting into remote databases and online websites and getting credit card numbers. Oh, what did I do there? Something's wrong. No, I didn't do a dump. And I actually, let's go ahead and list all those. Let's go ahead and list credit card number, ID, order and date. And there we go, folks. So now you can see how easy it is to retrieve confidential information from online sites using a tool such as this. I hope this has helped you understand the use of SQL Map and exploiting the SQL injection vulnerability. Thanks for listening.